Coming to you live from the On Air Media Studios here in Dallas, Texas. Welcome to Sound Bites with Susan and Waylon, where we take a short extraction of our daily lives as publicists to share with our audience here in the Big D and beyond. My name is Waylon Tate with J. Waylon and Associates.
And I'm Susan Friedman with Friedman Marketing and Public Relations. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to all of you. Good morning to you, Susan.
Yes.
I feel like I saw you a couple of hours ago. We spent the entire weekend together. And if you follow any of our social media at Susan and Waylon, you would have probably seen that. We did a lot.
We did a
lot this weekend.
We started Friday night.
That is right. We did.
We started Friday night and we went to the Little Black Dress preview party, and it was a benefit for the Legal Hospice, and they provide legal services.
They
in
do.
Case anyone is interested, to low-income individuals with terminal illness and HIV.
They have been incredibly impactful in a lot of situations, particular in many ways to the LGBT community. A lot of folks who are dealing with HIV and AIDS. It's an organization that I've heard about, many times over. That have really stepped in.
I've been to a few of their events, and they're a lot of fun.
That was a big turnout.
Yeah.
It really was. I was impressed. It was at the Acura dealership on Lemon, and really friendly. It was great energy. We saw some people that we know.
Yeah.
We ran into a lot of people that we knew, actually.
I really liked what they did for this event. It's a preview party. So what they were doing, for $20, you could purchase 5 raffle tickets. And then they had a showing of maybe, was there 10 to 12 dresses?
Yeah,
by
it was 11,
various
right?
Local designers.
Yes.
Yep, 11 dresses on models from Nancy Campbell Agency. And then to choose the winner, you actually would put your raffle tickets in a purse that the model was holding.
Right.
Yeah, here's a picture of it. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And the winner turned out to be Francisco Flores.
Nice.
And that.
Yeah, that's Judge Collins.
Beautiful woman.
Yes, I've known her. We used to work together at the DA's office when she was still a prosecutor. Incredible woman. She does a whole lot for the community. And one of my really good friends was actually in the show as well, Mario Gallegos. We got to speak to him a little bit before the show. He was his piece was the kind of black with the white polka dots.
Yeah.
And he was telling us about an upcoming collection that he's working on, which will be really interesting to see.
We need to have him on the show next time.
We do.
Or in the future.
But it was great. Do we, I'm trying to think of if they let us know how much money they raised, or that'll come out probably sometime this week.
Yeah, we'll have to find out and check out their Facebook page, which I found more information on. So,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. We'll check that out. And then we moved into Saturday morning.
Saturday
right?
morning.
So we were up pretty late, I guess, on Friday night after a full work week. And we rose from the ashes, or at least I did, on Saturday morning for a really incredible, important cause, which was the Women's March. And
Yes.
Dallas was one of the participating cities, as there were cities all across the world, right?
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, this was kind of the second piece or installment to last year, right? Because it was so paramount last year.
Yes, they were calling it the second annual march, actually. Okay. And I read in the newspaper, in Dallas Morning News, that they estimated 7,000 attendees.
Which was more than I think they were expecting, right? In
Yeah.
Dallas. I can tell you, you all, that it was, there was definitely energy in the air. We mentioned in a live Facebook video that we did while we were there on location, that the energy really was palpable, and it was. There was such a shared appreciation for, I don't know, it was just, there was so much respect and just energy, and it was a really optimistic crowd, I think would be a really good way to describe it.
Yeah. I noticed that there was a lot of different messaging, although everything's centered around unity and equality, which is wonderful. There were some signs and messaging about abortion rights, some political statements. Actually, one of my favorite signs had to do with journalism, and it said, keep investigative journalism alive?
Yes, or support investigative journalism. Which is so true, because, there has been, and this is something that really speaks directly to us, Susan. I mean, I think in many ways there is an attack on the media, and not just the media itself, but the investigative journalism and the integrity behind journalism, right?
Sure.
You know, I think that we come to a very serious crossroads in our society, which has, to the very roots and grains of our Constitution, right? The freedom of press is the first, you know, right that's given to us. So I think that when we start coming from a space where we don't believe that, you know, traditional news networks are providing us with the truth, we get into some really sketchy territory. So you know, my stomach just turns every time we get into a conversation.
This is a whole, I mean, we could do a whole hour.
We sure could.
Or a whole day. I agree. And it takes money to have a credible source where there's fact checks.
That's right.
There's research, investigation, and unfortunately those media outlets are dwindling because they don't have the advertising or consumer support.
That's right.
And, you know, I wonder if the younger generation even knows about these credible sources or if they just solely get their news from the social media.
I know. And don't you think that it's kind of a double-edged sword? Like, I was having a conversation with the folks in my office about this, and I think there's definitely something to be said for kind of like non-traditional sources of media, right? Like the entire the uprising of a lot of things in other countries have really only been spoken about or told to the world by independent, you know, like freelance journalists, I guess you could say. But the counter to that is you and I come from a place where we know that you know, the big three have multiple sources, that what they're saying is the truth, right? And I think it's kind of a slippery slope because you're not vetting stories if it's someone in Duluth, right, telling a story from their Facebook page. So I don't know. I think it's a conversation that our industry is going to talk about at great lengths moving forward. It's not going away.
Well, I think we're also going to be talking about it in the next few minutes after our break, possibly.
Yes.
Or maybe soon.
We are.
Yeah, PRSA came out, which is Public Relations Society of America, came out with their PR trends for 2018, which we'll be discussing shortly.
That's absolutely right.
After the march, we were hungry.
We were
starving.
super hungry. And so we have said over and over and over on this show that Susan and I literally live less than half a mile away from one another. So, and you guys, we walked. We walked not only the march, we walked halfway back, I would say, to our respective
so guilty.
homes.
We Ubered. We Ubered back, although we considered taking a bike because, of course, there's like 10,000 bikes between, like,
that's
on every
another
block.
show also.
Yeah, so, but we Ubered back and decided to go eat. And we ate at Zephyr's, if you haven't been there.
It's a great space, Zephyr's Bakery Cafe, which is right on Cedar Springs and very close to our homes. But and it was really nice to kind of decompress because the three of us, so Susan's husband joined us not only on the march but for brunch as well, and we really got to kind of, you know, decompress and talk about our experience at the Women's March.
Yeah.
And I think your husband enjoyed himself.
Yeah, he really did.
He had a really good time.
Yeah.
And I know I did, and I left feeling invigorated and all of that kind of stuff. And then it was really interesting to see, because I had quite a few friends who went to the march as well, and it was interesting to see their pictures on Facebook and social media and kind of the different perspectives and all of that kind of stuff. The television networks were in the air flying. In the helicopters, getting some really good footage.
And next year we're going to have to create posters.
Yes,
we didn't.
That was our only thing. But maybe because we didn't have posters, they gave us an opportunity to read other people's posters, which were just incredible. So we'll share some more of those on the website. And then after brunch, our weekend of togetherness continued, right? Susan was actually working, so she was in a different place than I was. But tell them about this amazing.
Yes, and so last week on the show we had Willie Baronet, who was partaking in the Dallas Chamber Symphony's concert, and it was this last Saturday, my apologies, and it was a beautiful concert. The Dallas Street Choir performed, and with the Dallas Chamber Symphony, and it was a world debut that was commissioned for them. Or written for them, I should say.
Sure.
And then there were 3 films as well that were with the music of the chamber, and then some solo pieces as well. And it was a full house. I was really impressed. It was a free community concert. Thanks to Taka and some of the other sponsors. Okay. But yeah, I thought it was an amazing event. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us. I really appreciate it. I'll say, because I had a +1 and my +1 lives in Fort Worth and was running a little bit behind, we got there right in time for the second act. Yeah, we were just a little bit late, but I did get a chance to say hi to Willie, and again see some of his pieces that were displayed, and it was beautiful. I mean, of course, I love music. I love live music. I love symphonies, and it was very well done. I was also very impressed with your work, obviously, as I always am. We ran into a really good friend, Leah Frazier,
yes, Leah Frazier was there.
who is preparing for a really big upcoming gig, and so we got to talk a little bit about that. But
if you don't know her, Leah Frazier has the blog Inspire in Style.
And is doing just incredible things.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her. I've watched her grow over the years, but it was great. And again, thank you so much for having me be a part of it. So it was a busy weekend.
Yeah. Did you watch the SAG Awards?
I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
I bet you would.
I thought I would too.
You like awards.
I do like awards. And funny enough, Susan, I don't know if I've ever told you this, I was actually in the first Miss Congeniality movie.
No, I didn't know
yes.
that. Talk about awards.
So I had this experience. I was still doing makeup, working for Mac at Saks Fifth Avenue in Austin. They were filming a scene there. We got to stay, and I actually had a line. So
you had a line?
I had a line, and it was a scene just with me, Christopher, I can't remember his name anyway. Yeah, anyway, so
Do you remember the line?
That makes 4 of us. That was my line.
Oh,
yeah, it would
good
take me a long
memory.
time to set it up. But anyways, I say all of this because once you have actually filmed, you can apply to be in SAG. So I got an application, and I never did it, obviously, because that was not my career path or journey. But I've always wondered what it would like to be able to, because you get to vote, right? Then if you're a member of the Screen Actors Guild, then you get to vote. But did you watch them?
I did. I watched part of it.
Okay.
And it was really neat. It was another award ceremony.
I mean, how do you
we
compare-
enjoyed watching it. I watched part of it with my husband, and there were actually a lot of films that we hadn't seen or TV series, so we were kind of jotting down notes about that.
Right.
But yeah, I have to look it up. I didn't watch the whole thing, so I need to still look up all the winners.
Okay. Yeah, and it's
Big
like, how
Little
do you...
Lies got quite a lot of nominations.
Which is one of my... If you have not seen Big Little Lies, watch it immediately. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Okay, it's
This
so
Is
good.
Us.
This Is Us. I watched about 6 or 7 episodes of
Game
season
of
1.
Thrones.
I've never seen one episode.
Really? I read 3 of the books and watched it.
The whole thing? Oh my God. Okay,
Well, yeah. Up
It's
until,
not over yet.
Yeah.
Okay. This upcoming season will be the last of Game of Thrones, I think. I try to
We
keep
actually
up.
ended up getting HBO just to watch it.
Oh my God. This is what I did yesterday this season. I binge watched. So another one of my favorite shows is called Frank and Gracie.
Yes, I watched that. That got some nominations as well.
Good.
Although
It should.
I didn't see them win anything, but like I
Okay.
said, I didn't watch the whole thing.
It's Lily Tomlin and...
Yes, I binge watched that too.
So season 4, I guess, went live, and so I watched like 6 or 7 episodes yesterday, laying on my couch, trying
for
to relax. So
you.
anyways, I'm
Good
glad
for
they
you.
were up for something. So after we come back from this short break from one of our sponsors, Kruto Vodka, we will dig right into some of the upcoming trends that Susan was talking about momentarily. So stay with us, and we'll be right back.
Sounds great.
Welcome back, and I keep promising to bring some Kruto vodka so I can show everybody the bottles and what we're doing. In fact, Susan, we're actually entering their newest commercials that we had filmed, which kind of speaks a little bit to what we're talking about between storytelling and advertising. We're entering it into the Brooklyn Advertising Film Festival.
Oh,
so that'll be an exciting experience. So, but our friends at PSRA released kind of their local trends for the year, right? So, do you want to start off that conversation?
Sure. And They talked a lot, everything from artificial intelligence, robots, storytelling was used over and over again, social listening, advertising. It talked a lot about blogs and the importance of them. Some of the key things I'll say that I got out of this, in summary, videos are going to be taking a more dominant role when it comes to marketing, storytelling, PR, etc.
Okay. Well, and you have to, I mean, it's kind of opens up the conversation, right, about what is our role kind of moving forward.
As publicists?
Yes. I mean, I think about this often because before we started the show, we were having a conversation about really, truly the difference. Like, what do you define the difference of advertising and public relations? And are they blending, right? And is there... and then, so if you are kind of blending the role between public relations and advertising, is the publicist kind of the inceptor of deciding what the story is to be told? Do we actually tell the story?
Right. Well, that's what the story was saying, is that the role between advertising and PR is blurred. And for anyone who's not in PR and marketing, the difference is in public relations and media relations, you're not paying for the story. You have to prove... The publicist proves or deems credibility towards a story in order to get it published or broadcasted or what have you for free.
That's right.
Whereas in advertising, you actually pay for that space.
That's right.
You pay for that story and message to be told. So what they're finding is that because they want authenticity, they want a story and messaging to be told, they find that now publicists are coming up with the content, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain this. They're coming up with the content, and then the advertising agencies are actually going to produce it. That is new, actually. Before, people used to hire advertising agencies first. They would create the content, the messaging, and so forth, and go from there. But now they're asking publicists to actually formulate the campaign, the messaging, and then have the advertising agencies produce it.
And I really appreciate the way that you kind of describe the role of the publicist, right? That we have to legitimately sell the story, right? Because... not to belabor this, but what people really need to understand is a publicist has to come from a space of like, we call it pitching in the industry, which means, so there's X amount of time, right, in a day. And you could take that same aspect and say there's X amount of words in a column. And so, you know, Susan and I are two publicists out of like 60 billion that it feels like in the city now. And we're all competing for the same amount of airtime or the same amount of space in a magazine, a newspaper, any kind of publication, now moving more into kind of digital space as well with blogs and things of that nature. And so the difference is advertisers will come from a space of, we are going to pay you X amount of dollars for this square amount of space or this amount of segment, right? In many terms, we call that advertorial.
Yeah.
But a publicist doesn't have that luxury.
No.
We are solely... you know, working from a place of, this is a really cool, interesting story. Your readers, your, you know, your viewers are going to find great interest in what we're saying. And so it's trying to get through the white noise and make your story more important to take that space than, you know, another fellow's, you know, publicist is trying to put theirs out there. So this idea of them merging together opens up, I mean, where do you even go from there? Where we kind of control the narrative.
We've kind of seen that with, I'm going to use magazines. A lot of times magazines where I call it church and state, where even the editorial and advertorial departments or advertising departments couldn't even talk to each other because they didn't want any type of
blurred lines of integrity.
Right. But these days you actually, you know, you may see some publications where they're like, you buy an ad and you'll get the editorial for free.
Or television segments or shows where you can certainly be on the show, but it's going to cost you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know what, I don't know. I come from that, you know, from two different perspectives. A, it's always good to be able to get your client something, even if they know they're going to be paying for it, right? Because, again, it's all about presence and brand awareness and all of those things. But at the same time, are we getting into, kind of icky territory where only the people who can afford to be known, no matter how compelling their story is, are the only ones that's going to be told, right?
I think I've already gone through this drama in my head with myself, and I've come to terms with that's the way things are moving. Just because we do need these media outlets available to us, and advertising has become really slim, as well as consumer support. So they do need to make money.
They do need to make money. The kind of coin or other side of that, for me at least, and we do some different kind of processes, you and I, in our respective shops, but we do a lot of advertising in-house in that we kind of produce content, and we'll use a lot of our social media platforms to advertise, right? So not just on Facebook, but YouTube does a lot. You can advertise across so many different platforms and mediums. It does give us a little bit different way to get exposure for our clients. But I kind of pride myself on being the go-to for startups, and startups don't genuinely have the capital to pay for $5,000 for a 2.5-minute segment on a television show. So, I mean, what do we do? Do we do we just start taking clients that have money and lots of it to spend, or because I think our job is going to become more difficult, right?
It completely is becoming more difficult. I agree with you. But I think that $5,000 can get you media relations, and it may not be the exact messaging. This is what I explain to clients who aren't that familiar with media relations is we don't control when it's going to be published or produced, or broadcasted, and we can't necessarily control the message. So,
I would take that a step further and say, nor can we control whether or not it will actually, at least this is mine. I don't know what your contracts look like, but it's kind of the first, defining stone of the contracts that I sign with my clients. And public relations is such an abstract art, there are no guarantees unless you're doing advertorial, right? And so I always, because, the media is the media. There's a certain news cycle, and trust me, like even if you've spent 3 weeks setting up a segment, if something breaking news happens, they're going to push you to the sidelines. So I don't make any guarantees. And do you have?
I've heard some publicists that do guarantee, which
I couldn't sleep at night.
I couldn't sleep at night, and I tell the client you need to hire them if they can guarantee your press coverage, because
I would tell them you need to run for the hills because there's no publicist.
Yeah,
on the
I'm
planet
like, you need to hire them if they can do it. I don't think I've never not gotten press for a client, but I will never guarantee. I will always get them something, whether I have to extend my hours to make it happen. But I never guarantee anything.
Well, you're better for it than I am, because I would be paranoid all the time, like trying to think about, I don't like guarantees at all.
Let's change the topic.
Yeah.
Some of the other things that we found about the PR Trends story, a huge discussion about measuring and monitoring results is going to be prolific, and that's another great conversation, because I can understand with social media and digital, but I think with some of the traditional media relations, that's really hard to track.
It is. Even when, a lot of it is just guesstimation, right? So when we send something on the wire, they'll tell us this is your potential audience reached, right? They do give you some concrete results.
So is that impressions?
No, what they basically do is they say, you were distributed across US 1 is what it's called. For our friends who don't know, it's a US 1 distribution, which means it will go out domestic. So it's from coast to coast. So when you get the initial report back, it'll tell you how many major publications picked up on that. What they do is they take each publication's number of audience members or followers, and they jumble that up. So like normally whenever I send out, there's a particular client that we send quite a few press releases per month, it'll come back and say your potential audience was 296 million. Okay, well that's such an abstract number because it's just
kind of funny. We find the impressions and stuff like that, and there's different websites that you can use to find those impressions. And we did a research, and every single one had a different number of impressions.
Was it
for each
a huge
website?
Like,
huge difference.
Okay.
Huge. Like
So
yeah, one
obviously
was double the amount, and
that's the one you go with.
Yeah. Yes, and I've had actually just recently, one of my clients asked for the dollar value of a year long of everything. So
that's really hard to determine.
It was.
It is. I'll tell you. So Tracy Nanthafongsa owns Critical Launch, who is the good friend of mine and who created Susan and I's website, is a guru when it comes to Google Analytics and understanding really not, after you've built out a platform, to really understand how many people are looking at it, who are they, what are they. And so he's been giving me kind of lessons over the past, 6 or 7 weeks with our website and with Jay Whalen, who he also built my website as well. And like sometime I would really love to come and like share with you kind of just looking at it. It will blow your mind to understand
I would love to see those
who your
Google
audience members are.
yeah.
And he's able to show you not just impressions, but like he'll show you the time of day that most people are reading your material, and
Really?
the gender of people that are reading your material, and the ethnicity of people that are reading your material. I mean, it's all of this stuff is built into websites that people just don't know is there.
Right.
It's really it's kind of crazy to see how it goes, and it actually assigns a page dollar value to each piece that you put out. It's really extremely
I didn't
interesting.
realize that.
So
Interesting.
we'll certainly have to we'll spend some time doing that together. So. I'm going to have to for sure go and read more about what their upcoming trends are, because you always want to stay ahead of the game. I've never thought about joining the particular, PRSA. Were you a member? Have you been a member?
I have not been a member. I have attended some of their events, though.
Okay. So speaking of events, we have some that are upcoming,
yes,
right?
Yes. And speaking of networking and organizations, I am actually, one of my goals this year, resolutions, is to join a networking group. So I'm going to try the 1 Million Cups networking event. It's going to be at the Dallas Entrepreneur Center.
Awesome. I love that.
On Wednesday from 9 to 10. And I believe anyone can go. It's free to the public. And I'm really excited. They say that people... I forgot the whole thing with 1 million cups, but it's like 1 million cups of coffee every day for people networking around the world.
Oh, okay.
That's how much it takes.
It's a lot of coffee.
Something like that. It sounds fun, and I haven't been to the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, so thought I'd check it out.
I have once, and I may join you for that, because I'm all about networking. So that sounds really interesting. And coffee is apparently the theme of the week.
Yes,
right?
yes. Actually, Thursday is National Irish Coffee Day, and I'm looking underneath the desk because we're going to celebrate. Yes, I brought some Tullamore Dew, which is Irish whiskey. And for those who don't know and who would like to partake on Thursday, the 25th, National Irish Coffee Day, to make an Irish coffee, which we're not drinking. I have regular coffee here.
I have regular, good old Starbucks.
You take 1.5 parts Irish whiskey, such as Tullamore Dew, 1.5 parts coffee, 1 part sugar, 1/2 part, sugar, and then heavy whipping cream. You shake up that whipping cream so it's nice and frothy, and pour it on top, and you've got your Irish coffee.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to. Yeah, we'll get some pictures of us drinking some of that this coming week. I'm sure that we have some of this stuff back at my office.
And I'm going to my first masquerade party on Saturday. It's with Kids. It's their Mardi Gras masquerade. Oh yeah. And Amy Vanderoff was on our show maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she is actually the mistress of ceremonies.
Oh, I love it.
Yes. So they're raising money for the teen trip to Orlando.
And tickets are still available, right?
Yep, and they're only $75, starting at $75, and it's at House of Blues this Saturday.
And it goes to an incredible cause, you guys. So, yeah, we would love for you to join us, because we'll be there as well. So, gosh, this show went by really quick.
It did. I know.
Would be remiss, again, not to mention one of our sponsors, Critical Launch. For all things digital and web development, visit them at criticallaunch.com. And I guess that wraps for...
Yep. We get a shout out to Jansen, our producer.
Love Jansen.
Hi, Jansen.
So, and he had a very busy weekend himself, so we're so thankful as always to have him here. So,
yes.
All right, until next Monday, you guys have an incredible week, and look for us always across all social media at Susan and Whalen.
And check out our website.
Yes, SusanandWhalen.com.